All right, everyone, welcome back. Josh Beatar and Alex Gold here for From the Stands. And today we are very luckily joined by a man who needs no introduction, but I'll do my best to give him a good one. He is one of, if not the greatest middleweight of all time, and on a quest to claim back his undisputed middleweight title. The former UFC middleweight champion and the pride and joy of our home country, Australia's own Rob Whittaker. Rob, it's a pleasure, mate. We really appreciate you giving us some time this afternoon. It means a lot to us. I guess I know it's been just nearly about a month since UFC 298 in Anaheim. How have things been for you since then?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. You know, and that introduction, mate, fluffed the guys up real well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess. So I've had about 3 weeks off now. Or this is the fourth week now since the fight, mate. Honestly, the first 3 weeks was like sucked because I got so sick. So fight day, I woke up with like a sore throat, a bit of a cough, and then got through that. And by the time I flew home the next day and landed back in Sydney, I was done. And honestly, it was like the worst flu I had ever had. Ever.
Wow.
It was terrible, dude.
And you can still sort of hear it now.
Yeah, like it left me with like a sinus infection that will not leave. So, yeah, but that is what it is. So it kind of put a damper on the parade my family was going to put on for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, man, it's good to be home. And this is my first week back at training. This week just passed. So I feel like a truck's hit me as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. Rob, I asked this question to Volk last year during the 293 build. And I wanted to sort of get your take on it as well, being a guy that, like Volk, has been in the Australian MMA scene for well over a decade now and some change. What has it been like for you to sort of see the growth of the sport in this country from a time when you made your pro debut in 2009, things weren't like they are now. Promotions and the shows that are run here, it's a very different world to the one that you started in all those years ago. So I guess, what's it been like for you to see the progress that Australian mixed martial arts has made since that time?
Yeah, I guess, mate, it's night and day, really. So when I started, the sport was relatively new in the US. And so, you know, figuratively speaking, we're 10 years behind there. So it was really new here. I'm pretty sure when I started, like the cage was still banned in New South Wales. Like it was still banned in a lot of places. So it was a very different time. And I remember when I started in competing in the scene, there was no amateur scene as there is now. The bodies were hard to get. There was no information, so it was hard to get information just on how to cut weight, what do you need to do for dietary stuffs. And so a lot of my early career was just trial and error. And I'm very fortunate and lucky for the success that I have. You know, I give a lot of that to also my wife, who was studying fitness and health and nutrition at the time, luckily. So I had someone I could bounce ideas off, right? But it was a very different time. And comparatively to today, it is night and day. And I'm so pleased to see that because, you know, I hold a little bit of pride to have brought some level of spotlight to Australia in the athletes that we have and to the scene of mixed martial arts, because it gives Australian athletes another avenue of making a living. It gives Australian athletes that were doing jiu-jitsu or karate or any form of martial arts or boxing that didn't have an avenue to make money or just wasn't able to hit the scene that they wanted to. And like, it gives them a platform. It gives them an avenue, especially with more shows that are coming out in Sydney and WA and Australia as a whole. And now that, like, the Australians have, like, we have a big circuit of guys now in the UFC. I think we have like four Australians that are top 10.
Yeah.
You know, and until like a couple of weeks ago, we had a champ. So you know, we're making waves, and it is great to see.
Yeah. What's up, guys? It's Josh here from the Stands, and look, I know you're in the middle of a good little interview that we're currently doing, but I want to take a second of your time just to give a quick little shout out to today's sponsor, TrainAid. Obviously, they're big supporters of us, like we are of them, and today they're sponsoring this video. And look, I want to let you guys know about a little product they do, their premium product, TrainAid Hydration. It's the best hydration formula on the market, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. And look, if you don't believe me, ask guys like Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, Leon Edwards. You ever heard of these guys? I mean, they're the top athletes in the world. And they're all taking TrainAid Hydration It really is the #1 formula in the world for hydration. And in the summer months here in Australia, I mean, it's something that I think everyone should be taking. And Trainade have been very nice to give us a discount code, a very healthy discount code as well. I mean, it's a nice little discount code. If you use the code FTS15 at the checkout, they will give you 15% off. We'll leave a link to their website in this description of this video. And yeah, check them out, guys. Please support them because they are supporting us. Cheers.
Definitely. Rob, my sort of first question for you is, one thing that we're seeing, particularly over the last sort of 3-4 years, is that belts are changing hands a lot more often. And, I feel like, gone are the days of, the Jose Aldo 8-year undefeated reign, Chris Cyborg being a champion undefeated for 10 years. Do you think that reign is kind of gone as well simply because everyone's at such a high level now? Or do you think it just needs the right fighter to come along and be dominant for an 8-year period?
It's hard to say. I definitely think it is. I definitely think the depth of skill has increased across the divisions, and you see it more so in those competitive middle divisions, opposed to the ones that are on either the lighter weights or the higher weights. Although the lighter weights skill wise have been a lot, it's just the depth of the division, I guess, like the numbers, right? So I definitely think, and I think a lot of MMA fans and even analysts and other guys will say that the skill level is definitely higher. And that is part reason for the UFC promoting itself, marketing itself so well. Mate, it's crazy to think now from where I came from, but there are guys that I'm fighting in the UFC that started jiu-jitsu because of the UFC. That's like when they were like 6, like their dad put them into jiu-jitsu and wrestling and boxing at the age of 7. For the UFC. That is crazy. Like, and I'm fighting those dudes now, right?
Yeah.
It is crazy to think that. And that's because back in the day, it was like a guy that you hear a lot of the old heads, they like, I didn't even start MMA till I was 24. I didn't even start MMA till I was 28. Like, because it just wasn't there. Like, they were doing like either like boxing or something like that. And then they were like, oh, what's this sport? Yeah, you know what I mean? So I definitely think it was the depth. I think as more and more awareness is like, look at the heavyweight division. I'm going to use that as an example. Like, look at how competitive it is in the top 5, right? Yeah. But opposed to the top 10, I feel like there's a bit of a gap between the top 5 and top 10. And then again, top 10 to top 15 or top 20 is like a different division. It's like, you know what I mean? It's almost like a different organization just because of the depth of numbers. But if you were to go back 10 years ago, it's almost mind-blowing. Like the difference of caliber guys, right? But that's not to say that a guy like John Jones, who's an absolute phenom at everything, right, can't just come in and be like, this is mine now.
Yeah, 100%. Rob, fights in Perth haven't been the kindest to you in previous years. Obviously, there was the fight against Rockhold at 221, which fell out, and then obviously the one with Costa last year at 284, which fell out. I guess rumours are circulating that 305 could be scheduled for Perth, and I think timing-wise, I know you're an active guy, but timing-wise, it's still 4, 5, 6 months away from now. Do you believe that could be a perfect opportunity for you to sort of make your return? I know you've only just had your fight, but as fans and analysts in the game, we like to play that part of when someone's going to fight next, and in a fight that could potentially pit you against Strickland in what people are calling a #1 contenders fight.
Yeah, and it's kind of you to say that I like to be active, dude. I'm not active at all.
Come on.
Right? I try to be, but for better or worse, something comes up. Yeah. And my track record with Perth has been
terrible.
I am sorry, Perth. Things just happen. You can blame Costa. I got Costa back though.
Yeah,
right?
you did. Yeah.
I blame Costa, but I got him back for that one.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I'm sure of is that I want to fight in August. I want to fight in Perth because understandably it's about 4 or 5 months away, which I think is a perfect amount of time. It's not too long to wait, especially if you compare it to the last few legs I've had to wait between fights. And the fact that it's in Australia is just one more reason to hold on. Yeah. I would love that fight with Strickland or any fight really. If it puts me in the conversation for the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Rob, my next question for you is, I want to talk about another sport that's, very dear to your heart, which is wrestling. And, specifically wrestling here in Australia. My question for you is, how do you think that we can grow wrestling here in Australia that, we begin to have a level of wrestling where we can compete more on that international stage?
Well, international stage, how? Like, are you talking like NCAA?
Olympics, NCAA. I mean,
Okay,
NCAA is obviously the American program, but Olympics, maybe even have our own program similar to the NCAA that grows in its level and skill.
Definitely, it's tricky because if you looked at it like for mixed martial arts, we're up there with the best of them. You can see guys like Jack and myself, like our wrestling defense and wrestling offense is top tier. Like he fought Gilbert Burns and was really doing well to stop those takedowns on the weekend. And then you also look at, I guess it's just numbers, and I think the numbers come from funding. I think wrestling's definitely in a better place than it was, say, 5 to 10 years ago.
Yep.
And I do think it's on the growth. So we had our own. We had Jaden win. He took bronze in the Com Games not too long ago. So and he trains with us and training with Ty at the moment and stuff like that. So we definitely have guys that go in there into the scene and compete. We have guys that are trialing out for the Oceanias and trialing out for the Olympics. But I think we just need numbers. I think and to get numbers, we need funding and.
Yeah.
How we go about that is above my pay grade.
Absolutely. Rob, I like to compare you to a guy like Max Holloway in a sense where it feels like you've been in the UFC for 20 years. Like you've been in the UFC for so long, but people are quick to forget that you won the middleweight title at 26. I mean, it's quite incredible, I think, that the longevity you've had in your career thus far. What would you attribute your longevity and your durability to in your mind?
Man, that's tricky. That's tricky. I guess I don't know. I definitely like to think that I am accepting of change. I think that I do reflect a lot on myself, and I'm accepting to the point where I understand that today I can't do what I did when I was 21. I'm a very different person. And I understand not only that, but like throughout that period of 12 years or whatever, I had 5 kids, dude. I got married. I got a life. I got mortgages. I got bills, and I changed with that. I didn't try to hold on to something that I feel like if you really just try to hold on reluctant to change, you find that you're trying to do things that don't work for the person you are. Whereas myself, I've kind of gone with it. And to be fair, I've had rough patches and I've had rocky moments, and you've seen them not only in life but in the octagon itself. But mate, that's just life, man. Everyone's kind of rocking with it.
Yeah, for sure. Rob, my next question is, I want to know, has there ever been a moment in a fight where you have almost surprised yourself with how, tough you were, or your ability to dig deep, or your ability to push through? Obviously, you're a fighter. You have to have an insane level of confidence in yourself and your ability. And you obviously work incredibly hard at your craft. But has there ever been a moment where you have even surprised yourself in a fight with your ability to dig deep?
Last fight, I surprised myself in a sense that I took absolute control of my headspace during the fight. I just had, and it was something I focused on during the camp, but you don't know how it's going to work until you get in there. And I had just had such doggedness and determination and grit and resolve in me during that fight and it was like a conscious effort that it surprised me that I could have such control over my headspace, I guess, in there, just because I fought a lot of times, and that's something I've never really had to focus on or had to pay attention to or even try to pay attention to. You kind of just get on the roller coaster and ride it out. But yeah, this was the first time I made that conscious effort, and I was just surprised at how much control I had over it.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, obviously, it's been talked about that Izzy and DDP would most likely be next. And I guess they would both be, individuals that you would like to get that win back on, of course. Between the two of them, what win would mean more for you getting back a win either against Israel or DDP?
I guess the one holding the title. You know, that's kind of the angle. Personally, I don't have any personal dislike or anything for either one of them. I don't know them personally. I don't know these guys, but like as an athlete, my direction is towards the belt. Like that's what I want to do. I want to win the title back and wrap things up. You know, I don't know, coach my son's soccer team. You know, but I want to tick that off the list.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, speaking of championship fights, we have, a really big one on the horizon between, Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. And, it's a really interesting fight to me. And I feel like to a degree, a lot of people are writing Jamal Hill off, but I was just curious if I could get your thoughts on that fight.
It's tricky. I think, mate, Alex is one of the best strikers in the game. And he's got to be one of the more powerful guys in the game at this point. Like he's so well versed in striking. He's just comfortable being there. But I wouldn't write Hill off at all, Jamal. Like I think he's got serious power, and you saw in that Yuri fight that Alex, there were dangerous moments, but Alex being the type of striker and the fighter that he is, just wrote it out. He's been there before 100 times, and I think Yuri got a bit excited, right? Whereas maybe I think Jamal, if we looked at it power for power, I think Jamal might have a little bit more whack in him, and Alex might not be given that chance. But it's hard to say though, because I think if we looked at it on paper, technical striking against technical striking, you'd have to favour Alex a whole lot.
Can you believe that he used to make middleweight?
Mate, I think I mentioned this in other interviews. Like, dude's a giant. It was ridiculous.
He's huge. He's absolutely massive. Rob, one last one from me, man. Couple last ones from us anyway. But I have loved nicknames, and especially fun ones. And your one is one that, if you look up Bobby Knuckles on Google, it says Bobby Knuckles next fight. Like, there's a list of things, and one of them is next fight date. Like, that's become so synonymous with your name. And where did Bobby Knuckles originate?
Mate, I got no idea. I think it was a fan name that just took off somewhere. So and I never, like, I didn't hate it. Yeah. But it was like whatever. And it just took off to a degree that I was like, well, I'm gonna make shirts out of this.
Yeah, nice.
For sure. Well, Rob, one last question from me, and it's a very important one. I want to know, what do you think happens first? Mcgregor versus Chandler, or Elder Scrolls 6 finally comes out?
Oh, mate. I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 is coming out ever, dude.
Not in our lifetime. Not in our lifetime. I've been waiting since 2011. I've been waiting since 2011.
My kids are going to be like ready to play it. They're going to. It's going to be coming out for them. And we're like, what is this game? But to be fair, that Chandler fight, I don't see that ever happening either, right?
Yeah, I know.
Have they even got a date or anything yet?
Well, it was looked at June 29th, but who knows? I mean, at this point, you just never know. It's been going on for so long. I want to see him back. Obviously the injury and everything, and he's getting older now, McGregor, and so is Chandler. You want to see the fight.
Yeah.
Do you? But I don't even care anymore.
I think at this point, it's definitely felt like the initial, I remember when it first announced, I was like, whoa, this is going to be like a very fun sort of 2-round fight. Like, there's no way this goes past two. But I think it's just gone on so long now that a lot of the excitement has kind of drifted off from it.
Yeah, I feel that too. Like, if there were fights that I was more interested in, I reckon, mate, Holloway versus Gaethje. Oof,
yeah, that's
gonna be so good, dude. But I'm also really curious about and this is just up for grabs as well, right? It's like Jones versus Aspinall, or Aspinall defending the interim belt. Someone. So I know. That little scenario. But I want to see Jones fight again, like more than just about anything else.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Rob, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege for us to have you on. I'll speak for both Josh and myself. He killed it with the intro, so I can't top that. But we both grew up watching you, man, and it has been an absolute honor to have you on. We wish you all the best, man. Hopefully we can see you on that Perth card, and hopefully that little streak can be broken there. And we'd love to talk to you again in future.
Yep. No, 100%. Thank you very much for having me, boys.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much, Rob. Appreciate it, man.